You know what's happening. Don't be deceived by appearances. He exalts himself when you lower yourself. He needs that. It's a clear strategy. You feel the pain. He feels the victory. The audience watches in silence. When he criticizes, you react. Laughter echoes. The humiliation is public. Applauded. You seek explanations, but they are unnecessary. The cycle repeats. He continues. You hold back. He gets empowered while you shrink. The pattern is evident. You call it a phase. In truth, it's a choice that keeps the dynamic going, and the dynamic is destructive. The relationship only exists because you sustain it, not because it's strong, but because you don't cut it off. His words are poisonous. You swallow them, each sentence a hidden blow. He rises and you shatter. And the audience? They leave, but the mark remains. When someone respects, they act. When someone cares, they don't humiliate. The rest is just smoke. You are not weak. You are paralyzed. And standing still is also a decision. Consider this. The cost is not only yours, the weight of the shame is also yours. As long as you remain available, the game continues. For him, not for you. You don't need more time. You don't need to try harder to be seen. You need to decide if you will continue accepting this reality. There is no comfortable ending here. There is only the moment when you stop, and that moment is your choice. The reality has already been presented. You wonder how you got here. The mirror reflects not just your face, but the fragility that grew over time. You have made so many concessions. You tried to understand the reason for this behavior, as if some hidden sentiment could justify the humiliation. He likes it. You know that you seek an explanation that will never come. Instead, he offers a sideways smile, a look that says more than words. That mix of disdain and satisfaction. You seek redemption, but for that, a confrontation is necessary, and confrontation demands courage. But there is an abyss, and do you intend to jump? The uncertainty persists. The idea of breaking this chain is terrifying. You think about the consequences, the void that would remain, and the pain of loss, but you lost yourself long before. You are just trying to rescue something that no longer exists. The automatic routine created a place where everything seems familiar, even if unbearable. Every word of his resonates in your mind, like a song that does not want to be silenced. You remember moments when you could have made a different decision. You recall the voices that echoed in your conscience. What do you really want? But those voices were silenced by doubt. Every time he applauds your failure, a piece of you dies. Nevertheless, hope stubbornly persists, the hope that one day things will change, that he will wake up and see who you really are. This is the trap. Time runs by, but you still wait. The days become weeks. The weeks turn into months. Each day is a new cycle of pains and broken promises. You watch life pass by while you remain there in the shadow. He moves among others as if he were a star, surrounded by applause, while you become invisible, a specter in your own existence. The audience leaves, but the mark remains. A scar that does not heal. You try to ignore. You try to camouflage the wound with smiles and nervous laughter. That's how it works, isn't it? The facade needs to be maintained. Until when? You know other stories, people who had the courage to leave. They talk about freedom, about finding their voice, but you do not know if you have that strength. You keep thinking that for every inspiring story, there are countless hidden ones full of silence, and that silence consumes you. You want to scream, but the sound doesn't come out. You are trapped inside a dark room. If this relationship were love, there wouldn't be contained pain. There is no love in humiliation. These are illusions built by empty promises. You feel the weight of choosing to stay. The fear of loneliness is greater than the pain of his presence. This is the dilemma. Meanwhile, he continues to act as if he were the only option. The promises that this will get better sound more like emotional blackmail. A dirty, manipulative game where you are the expendable piece. Every action of his confirms that you are not a priority, and here you are, waiting for something that only exists in your head. The truth is simple. Your need for validation fuels this dynamic. You become an involuntary accomplice to your own servitude. To him, you are a support, not a partner. And every time you accept this reality, it renews the contract of submission. So, what happens when you decide to stop? When the cycle breaks? The reactions will be unpredictable. He will try to regain control, perhaps threatening or playing the victim. But the question is, do you still care? Or are you ready to let this mask fall? What do you fear more? Abandonment or the possibility of liberation? The choice is painful but necessary. You should not wait for external change. It will not come. The house of cards is unstable. A slight breeze can bring it down. You are the one paying attention to your own silence. And silence makes noise when you finally decide to take the first step. Every small decision accumulates power. By refusing to put yourself in second place, you claim space. The cost of your staying is high. And the bill comes. You no longer need his approval. Just start walking. The reality has already been presented. You think about the time that has passed. You remember moments when you could have defended yourself, but your voice failed. The fear was greater than the will to fight. What you didn't realize is that the fight is not against him, but against yourself. You remain firm in your own prison. Each day, you convince yourself that things can change. Hope becomes a kind of anesthetic, but reality does not forgive. The cost of silence grows and you feel it, a weight on your chest, a sense of suffocation. He appears like a familiar specter. You know his movements, his words. Each empty promise is an echo that resonates, draining your strength. And the applause? They are for him, always for him. You watch as he shines. His light is blinding. Your own light seems dimmed, distant. What happened to your aspirations, to your achievements? They are buried under layers of doubts and insecurities. When you try to remember who you were before him, you find only fragments. The past mixes into a fog. You search for pride, but what you find is only fragility. The smile you used as a shield turns into a mask, and the pain accumulates, but no one sees. You have become invisible. If only you could scream. If only you could express the dissatisfaction that corrodes you inside. But fear always wins. The fear of his reaction, his manipulation. And so you silence yourself again. Life keeps spinning while you remain stagnant. But imagine a moment of clarity, a moment when perception becomes sharp. You realize that the cycle has no end, that the pattern will continue until something changes, and that change depends on you. The idea of breaking this bond sounds frightening, but if you look closely, there is a seed of strength inside, a desire to breathe freely. One day, in a conversation, he says something that should be trivial, but you feel as if it's a stab. Something inside you breaks. The spark of indignation begins to ignite the flame of action. You visualize the exit. It's not a paved path, but it exists. It is tortuous, but it is real. You ask yourself, what is the next step? What does it really mean to liberate yourself, to distance yourself from the claws of this cruel cycle? The idea of solitude can be terrifying, but even more terrifying is to remain there, in someone's shadow, living in a world of emotional illusion. And then the turning point approaches. You start to notice small things, the looks from others, the compassion hidden in smiles that you didn't notice before. There are people around you who were made for support. You ignore the internal voices that try to bring you down. The internal resistance is strong, but the idea of a different future begins to shine. You can start to tell your truths, the small truths that have always been stifled. These truths start to take root within you. A new narrative emerges. You realize that every word has power, every expression a mark, and from there, the desire to assert yourself grows. Freedom may come with pain, but pain is preferable to submission. You feel the weight shifting little by little. His image becomes clearer, more fragile. His confidence in manipulating you starts to unravel. You realize that the energy you dedicated to sustaining the relationship could be redirected, not to a new love, but to yourself. Nights go by, and you start to dream of possibilities, dreams that were forgotten, awakenings that bring new goals. Every small decision transforms into a step, and the shadows that once were oppressive now become just a backdrop. However, he senses the change. He tries to regain control. The attempts at manipulation intensify, but you are no longer so willing to swallow the disguised poisons. The smokescreen he created begins to dissipate. And you, the piece he believed was trapped, reveal yourself to be stronger than you imagined. It is an internal battle, no doubt. Details that insist on resurfacing, painful memories that resist fading away. In the search for freedom, you face your own demons. The fragility you always felt is now a component of your growth. You observe the transformation. You don't need to define yourself by it. And that is the greatest challenge. Looking in the mirror, you recognize that change does not come from a lack of pain, but from the strength that arises from it. And that strength, That strength is everything. It starts to shape a new self. The reality has already been presented. The scene has changed, not because the other did so, but because you decided not to be an accomplice to this story anymore. A new plot is unfolding before you, and each act of refusing to accept less brings a new light. The journey does not end here. In fact, it is just about to begin. You look into the mirror and see a reflection that once seemed distant. It's a familiar expression, but now it carries a new significance. It is no longer the image of someone who submits to the shadow. It's a body that breathes, that feels, that reacts. Every day, you offer yourself new opportunities for choice. And, even though the old mind tries to pull you back to the safety of submission, a seed of resistance begins to sprout. Every small movement counts. You decide not to respond to provocations. Without anger, without fear, just observe. He is confused. The strategy that worked so well for so long no longer holds. The words that once hurt you now resonate like empty echoes. And this starts to bother him. There is a restlessness in the way he watches you. The certainty that you are no longer the easy target you used to be. A change in the air. And this change is not just about him. It's about you and the internal transformation that is beginning to manifest. Your value, which was buried under the dust of time, begins to shine. Every small moment of refusing to accept less than you deserve becomes an act of rebellion. With every laugh you share with friends, with every conversation that flows without fear, you reaffirm your existence. Interactions change. You notice looks of admiration, not pity, genuine smiles, not embarrassed ones. And the more you dive into this new reality, the clearer it becomes that the chains were not meant for you. They were ornate but heavy. And now looking at the healed wounds, you understand that they were essential parts of the process. Days turn into weeks, and instead of counting the time until his next slip-up, you tell stories of overcoming. Your stories. You rediscover old hobbies. You read books you always wanted to. You stroll through places you had forgotten. You allow yourself to feel the life pulsing again. The routine that was once a prison now transforms into a space of freedom. It is a palpable ardor, a flame that illuminates the dark parts. And when he tries to come back, using the charm that used to dominate you, you see the facade. The pretty words sound empty. The sorries are echoing. You no longer need promises. Freedom is the only gift you desire. And then, on any given day, you meet a friend. He doesn't know you're going through all this, but the empathy you feel when sharing a part of your story is renewing. As you talk about your experiences, you notice the strength in your words. You are no longer a spectator of your own life, you are the protagonist. This friend, who seems like a gentle soul, starts to awaken something dormant inside you, a desire for exchange, for real dialogue. There is no need for masks. You share fears, insecurities, but also hopes and dreams. The connection is real and free from the psychological games you once knew. With this, the idea of love transforms into a broader concept. It's not just about a romantic partner, but about the people around you who truly value you. Instead of receiving affection from those who put you down, you begin to recognize those who lift you up. And that is liberating. The light around you intensifies. The cycle that once seemed endless now becomes a narrative of growth. You no longer seek validation from the one who humiliates you. You realize that you can grow and flourish independently. This revelation is powerful. It is not a struggle against someone, but the construction of the self that has always been hidden. Regret for lost time still exists, but not as a burden. On the contrary, it is a motivation. Each vision you have of yourself pushes you forward, and each time he tries to reverse the situation, you are already miles away emotionally and mentally. Your moments of solitude are now choices, not impositions. You learn to love yourself in the quiet, to find peace in the absence of chaos. And gradually, the memories of humiliation become bridges of learning rather than barriers. What could have been scars of pain turn into tattoos of resistance. However, there comes a day when he appears again. This time, there is no emotion, just a calm look. He tries to use the words that always worked, but you no longer respond. The truth is, his power resides only in your willingness to believe that he can still control your life. You smile. It is not a smile of disdain, but of freedom. The game that was once unbearable is now just a reminder of how you have grown, and that growth is immeasurable. Reality has already been revealed. You no longer need to hide. You have decided to live, not to care. Each step forward is a testament to your strength. And so as you look into his eyes, you realize that you are no longer alone. Life is by your side as an ally. You don't need his applause to validate your essence. Now you embrace yourself in fullness, ready to face the world with the courage that has always existed within you.